does something like this happen a week before the draft? How does a guy like Dwayne Haskins, how does his stock just drop?
Well, for one, there is no science to the draft. There is no exact way to doing it. There is no machine. There is no person that can look inside of a kid and wonder on this next step. Because we know when they went from college, from high school to college, they made that step. But there's only a few that can really make this next step. I tell kids all the time, parents all the time, the draft is about lane assignments. So we're going to run the 200 meters. The guys drafted in the first round, they in lane 4 and 5. They got the best chance to be successful, but you still got to run the race. And you can be drafted like myself in the 4th round and still beat them to the tape. So don't get caught up in the draft. There is no science to it. Why did Aaron Rodgers fall in the draft? Why did Dan Marino fall in the draft? Year after year after year, we have all these experts in everything that they say they're experts. They might be in a certain area, but no one besides Mel Kiper is an expert at the draft. And even Mel Kiper misses. So, no, I'm not surprised by the rumors of him falling. Every year, this stuff starts to happen. You know what happened last year? There was a quarterback that supposedly was the 3rd or 4th ranked, and then he ascended. And they were right about it. And his name was Baker Mayfield. So every year we go through this. When they declare for the draft, it's tear down season. Let me tell you what these guys cannot do. If there's a quarterback that had the same season as Dwayne Haskins, and I wonder where they've been drafted. The kid at West Virginia, the kid at Missouri,
or the kid at Duke.
If all these kids, which supposedly might pass him in this last draft, as far as the evaluation, imagine if they had the season that he had. And Dwayne Haskins had the season that he had. Dwayne Haskins wouldn't be drafted in the first 2 rounds.
Right. So let's just show everybody what the 4 potential first-round quarterbacks, what their last season of college football looked like. Kyler, we think, is going to be the #1 pick, so don't worry about him. Let's look at Haskins compared to those other 2 guys. Haskins is incredibly similar to someone on that screen. The guy that's supposed to be the #1 pick. Those others, if you all of a sudden gave Drew Lock Haskins' numbers and Haskins Drew Lock's numbers, to your point, C, nobody's talking about Dwayne Haskins as a first-round pick. 63% completions, 28 touchdowns, 3,500 yards. He was at 70%. He threw for 50 touchdowns in the Big Ten.
Yep.
If Dwayne Haskins is actually plummeting on draft boards, I want to be very clear about this. It will be because of one of 3 things or a combination of 3 things. These reports, either lies, he's not plummeting and people are just saying it, incompetence, people don't know what they're doing, or prejudice. Because he's a big black quarterback and people, he's not the prototype. And you can say, we've come a long way. We have come a long way. You don't got to go to Canada anymore. But there is no chance, none whatsoever, in my mind, that a quarterback with Dwayne Haskins' numbers, career arc, what he did in high school, what he did when he filled in spot duty as a redshirt freshman at Ohio State, coming in and saving the day in the Michigan game, and then setting every, not just Ohio State record, Big Ten record, wins at the level that he does, would all of a sudden, the kid from Duke is ahead of him? Well, Drew Lock at Missouri might be ahead of him? I refuse to believe it. I think it's got to be smokescreen that Dwayne Haskins is not going to be. He could have been the #1 pick of the draft. Now all of a sudden we're saying he might be there at 13.
Well, you have to believe that maybe the Giants are spreading some of this. They'd love him to be available at 6. Let the world think maybe his stock is dropping.
I hope that's what it is.
Maybe it's misinformation. You'd like to believe that it's something like that so that he is available to them down there because you know he's looking.
That has a lot to do with the draft. I would have more respect if people said something to the effect of, you know something? I don't like his throwing motion. You know something?
Or something about him.
I wish there was a skill set. All his interviews, because I know the type of football. I know Ohio State changed their offense. And Ryan Day, the head coach there, his background is more in pro football of recent years than it is in college football. So I know he was taught professional football concepts. I know he can read defenses.
Right.
I know he's a great leader. I know he comes from a good family. I know he was successful at the highest level. Look at the top defenses that he faced compared to these other quarterbacks. No one, even the top, Murray, can't compare to him as far as who faced more tough schedule and more tough top defenses. It would be Haskins. So for me, a lot of this, I don't get caught up in it because I know, just like Russell Wilson, what round he go in?
3rd round.
Was there a better quarterback taken in that draft than him? So they miss all the time.
If Dwayne Haskins is selected after Drew Lock or Daniel Jones, then the question I will ask is simply, how much does college football actually matter for where you're taken as a quarterback?
Right.
Like how much, or should some of these guys just say, I'm gonna go to classes and just work out and then wow people at interviews and at the combine? Because the games were played. We saw it. When we were done with the college football season, the question was, will Haskins win the Heisman? Is he the most obvious, prototypical drop back? We've seen it happen dozens of times in the NFL. This guy be successful. Now, a kid that had a mediocre year at Duke is projected to go ahead of him. I don't want to believe it. I can't believe it.
Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, the 3 guys who obviously dropped and turned out to be
With respect,
very successful.
none of those guys had a season in college football
Like
the way
Dwayne
Dwayne